You think you're hard to manipulate. You're not. And every time you explain how you think, someone files it. You justify, you clarify, you defend. Each time you hand them another tool. Not because you're weak, because you're readable. And once someone reads your wiring, they don't need your permission to pull the levers. 500 years ago, a Florentine bureaucrat watched this exact pattern destroy kings. He wrote it down. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. For the next 30 minutes, you're going to see what he saw. Once you do, the people around you will start to look different. The room will feel different, and you won't move the same way again. Most of what you've been taught about people is wrong. You were told humans are complicated, mysterious, unpredictable. That's the lie. Humans are patterns. The first thing Machiavelli understood, sitting in the courts of Florence, was that the men around him weren't unique. They were variations of the same machine. They wanted to be liked. They feared losing what they had more than they wanted something new. They believed their own justifications. They mistook politeness for agreement. They confused intensity with truth. He watched them lie to themselves. He watched them lie to each other. He watched them be destroyed by men who simply paid attention. Machiavelli wasn't a tyrant. He wasn't a warlord. He was a clerk, a diplomat. He spent 14 years moving between the courts of Europe, watching how power moved. And what he saw shocked him. The strongest men in the room were rarely the loudest. The ones who stayed in power weren't the most charismatic. They were the most patient. They listened more than they spoke. They watched more than they acted. They let other people reveal themselves first. And then, when the moment came, they moved once, cleanly, with no explanation. This is the first principle of being dangerously smart. You stop seeing people as personalities. You start seeing them as machines. Imagine you walk into a room. 6 people are talking. The old version of you would scan for who's friendly, who's funny, who's interesting. The Machiavellian version of you scans for something else entirely. Who reacts emotionally to small things? That person is leveraged by emotion. Who explains themselves before being asked? That person is insecure about position. Who needs everyone to like them? That person can be moved by withdrawing approval. Who only speaks when the topic flatters their identity? That person is owned by their image. You don't have to use this information. That's not the point. The point is that you can see it. And once you can see it, you stop being shocked when people behave the way they always behave. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said power is not about manipulation. It's about clarity. The man who sees clearly does not need to scheme. He just waits. Most people will spend their entire lives reacting to others, defending, apologizing, performing. They don't realize they're doing it. That's the saddest part. But once you notice, something happens. The noise quiets. The room slows down. You stop trying to be understood by people who were never going to understand you. And you start to see the wires under the floor. That's layer 1. People are patterns. Now we go deeper. There's a sentence in The Prince that most people misread. It is not necessary for a prince to have all the qualities, but it is necessary to appear to have them. Read it again, slowly. That sentence has been used to call Machiavelli evil for 500 years. He's not telling you to be a fraud. He's telling you something colder. Reality is what happened. Perception is what people believe happened. In any room you've ever walked into, you have not been judged on who you are. You have been judged on what they could see. That's not pessimism. That's the operating system. A man who tells the truth poorly will lose to a man who lies cleanly. A woman who works hard quietly will be passed over for a woman who works less but reports louder. A leader who is kind will be eaten alive by a leader who is perceived as kind. This is where most people break. They believe that if they're good enough, real enough, hard-working enough, the world will eventually catch up to them. It won't. Not because the world is cruel, because the world is busy. Nobody is going to study you. Nobody is going to dig past your appearance to find your substance. They will take what is in front of them and decide, in 2 seconds, and they will rarely revise that judgment. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries before anyone in your office did. He watched princes fall because they assumed virtue would protect them. He watched fools rise because they understood the show. There's a story he tells about a ruler named Cesare Borgia. Borgia took control of a region called Romagna, which was full of violence and corruption. He needed it cleaned up. So he sent in a man named Ramiro de Orco, a cruel, efficient man. Ramiro restored order, brutally. People hated him. Once the work was done, Borgia did something most people would call insane. He had Ramiro killed. Not in private, not quietly. He had him executed in the public square, cut in half, left there for the people to see. Why? Because Borgia understood something most rulers never grasped. The job needed to be done. Then the man who did it needed to disappear. The people now had two feelings at once. They were grateful that order had been restored. They believed Borgia was just because he had punished the cruel man. He had it both ways, the work and the appearance of innocence. You don't have to like this story. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to understand it. Because every powerful institution in your life uses some version of this logic. Companies do hard things. Then they fire the man who did them. Governments make ruthless decisions. Then they prosecute the agency that carried them out. Friends will let you take the risk, then quietly back away when the consequences come. This is the second principle. What you do is half the equation. What people are allowed to see is the other half. Now think about your own life. Imagine the last time you delivered a result. Real result. Hard work. Did the right people know? Did they see it cleanly, or did you bury it in modesty? Did you let someone else take the credit because you didn't want to seem arrogant? If yes, you didn't lose because you were less competent. You lost because you were less visible. Machiavelli would tell you that humility, when no one is watching, is wisdom. But humility in front of people who are deciding your future is suicide. There is a quiet violence in being unseen. You feel it. You don't always have the words for it. It's that ache when someone less qualified gets the role. When your idea is repeated in a meeting and suddenly applauded. When the room laughs at a joke you said 2 minutes earlier. That ache is information. It's telling you something Machiavelli already knew. The world is not paying attention to your truth. It's reading your signal. If you don't manage the signal, someone else will, and they will manage it against you. This is layer 2. Perception is the terrain. If you don't shape it, you fight on someone else's ground. Now we go deeper. If you followed everything so far, this next part is going to hit hard. Because once you accept that people are patterns and that perception outranks reality, you have to ask the next question. How do most people leak power? They explain themselves. Watch this image for a second. The man in the middle thinks he's winning. He's articulate. He's making good points. He's even right. But notice the room. They are not nodding. They are not arguing. They are listening, mapping, filing, because every sentence he says reveals something about him. How he reasons, what he fears, what he wants, what he'll defend before being attacked. Machiavelli wrote that a wise man should always know more than he says. He should always reveal less than he knows. He should always observe more than he reveals. This isn't about being secretive. It isn't about lying. It's about a different relationship with your own thoughts. Most people treat their thoughts like a faucet. Whatever's in their head comes out. Powerful people treat their thoughts like a vault. What goes in stays in until it serves them to release it. And when it's released for a reason. Imagine walking into a meeting. You have an opinion, a strong one. The old version of you shares it immediately because you want to be seen as smart. The Machiavellian version of you waits. You let everyone else speak first. You watch who agrees with whom. You map the alliances, the fears, the unspoken hierarchies. By the time the room turns to you, you have an enormous information advantage. You know what to say. You know what not to say. You know which sentence will make you the most dangerous person in the room without ever raising your voice. Now consider the second implication. This one is even sharper. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should never be despised. Hated, yes. Feared, yes. But never despised. There's a difference. Hatred comes from being threatening. Contempt comes from being weak. The men who were destroyed in the Italian courts were not the ruthless ones. They were the visibly insecure ones. The ones who needed to be liked. The ones who flinched. The ones who explained. The ones who apologized for things they didn't need to apologize for. the ones who broke under social pressure and adjusted their position to please the room. Power doesn't disappear when you make people angry. Power disappears when you make people lose respect. And the fastest way to lose respect, according to Machiavelli, is to flinch. Imagine someone tests you in public. A snide comment, a subtle dig, a loaded question. The old version of you reacts, defends, justifies. The Machiavellian version of you does something stranger. A pause, a look, and then a question that costs nothing but reverses the entire frame. You don't get angry. You don't get loud. You hold the silence longer than they're comfortable with. And in that silence, the room sees something it didn't expect. You don't need their approval. That single shift in Machiavelli's writing is the difference between rulers and subjects. Subjects react, rulers respond. Subjects explain themselves, rulers ask questions. Subjects perform their value, rulers make others perform for them. There is a final implication of all this. It's the one most people never accept. If you start operating this way, some people in your life will turn on you. Not because you've become cruel, not because you've become cold, because you've stopped being convenient. When you stop explaining yourself, the people who relied on your explanations will feel attacked. When you stop seeking approval, the people who controlled you with approval will feel rejected. When you stop reacting to their tests, they will run bigger tests. This is normal. This is the price of waking up. Machiavelli wrote that change always seems to attack the very people who benefited from the old system. Your discomfort is theirs. Their discomfort is your liberation. This is layer 3. The implications are bigger than information. They're operational. You're not just learning things. You're rewiring how you walk through your own life. Now we go to the deepest layer, the one most people never reach. Here is the deepest thing Machiavelli ever wrote, and it's the part nobody quotes. He didn't believe the world was full of evil people. He believed the world was full of unconscious people. Most of the people who hurt you in your life are not strategists. They're not Machiavellian masters. They're improvising. They're scared. They're protecting their own image, their own comfort, their own self-story. And they're stepping on you while doing it, without knowing they're doing it. This is the truth that breaks people. You expected a villain. What you got was a fog. There is no master pulling the strings of your life. There is just 1,000 small actors, each one obsessed with their own survival, occasionally bumping into you in the dark. The Machiavellian doesn't get angry at this. He recognizes it, and then he uses it. Imagine you are the only person in a room who knows the rules of the game. You know that perception outranks reality. You know that explanation is exposure. You know that silence is a weapon. You know that hatred is survivable, but contempt is fatal. You know that humility, when no one is watching, is wisdom. You know that humility, in front of decision makers, is invisibility. The other people in the room? They're operating on emotion, on habit, on unprocessed fear. This is what dangerous intelligence actually looks like. It is not louder than other people. It is not more aggressive. It is not crueler. It is calmer. It moves slower. It sees more. It says less. It waits for the other side to reveal itself, and then it acts once, cleanly, without explanation. There's a line Machiavelli wrote that nobody ever puts on the posters. He wrote that men should be either pampered or destroyed, because they will revenge themselves for small injuries. For greater ones, they cannot. That sounds violent until you translate it into modern life. If you are going to deny someone something, deny them fully. If you are going to disagree with someone, disagree completely. If you are going to walk away from something, walk away cleanly. The half decision is what destroys most people. The half fight, the half no, the half leaving, the slow drift, the unclear answer, the soft maybe. Each one of those is a small wound. And small wounds are what people remember. Small wounds are what people scheme around. Small wounds are what come back 3 years later in the form of someone quietly working against you in a room you thought was friendly. The truly dangerous mind doesn't leave wounds. It either acts entirely or it doesn't act at all. It either says yes fully or no fully. It does not negotiate with itself in public. This is the deepest layer. This is what separates the dangerously smart from everyone else. Not aggression, not ruthlessness, decisiveness. The willingness to see the room clearly, decide what it requires, and execute that decision without dragging your foot. 500 years after he died, Machiavelli's name is still used as an insult. That's the final irony. The man who tried to teach the unconscious how to wake up is remembered as a monster by the unconscious he tried to wake. He didn't write a manual for tyrants. He wrote a mirror for sleepers. And most of the people who pick it up still don't see themselves in it. But you just did. Take a breath. Whatever changed in you over the last 30 minutes is not going to unchange. You're going to walk into your next room differently. You're going to hear the next argument differently. You're going to listen to the next person who explains themselves to you. And you're going to see, for the first time, exactly where their lever is. That's not a curse. It's a responsibility. Machiavelli's last warning was simple. Once you can see the game, you don't get to pretend you can't. You will be tested. You will be misread. Some people will call you cold. Let them. The ones calling you cold are usually the ones who could read you when you were warm. And this is why most people will never see it coming. Because the moment a quiet person stops explaining themselves, the entire room shifts. And nobody knows why. Subscribe, stay quiet, watch.